Hey everybody, welcome to week 2 in our Called to More series. And I hope you have been keeping up with the messages, whether you've been in person, online, or watching them after the Sunday service. They have been great messages that are really challenging us about why we're called to more. And that includes being called to more even in our work. And as we finished week 2, we highlighted something that certainly has been on our mind, something we've heard a lot about since really last year, but in particular during our Vision series in November, and that is about being for others. And how even in our work, whether that work is in our homes or in our communities, whatever that work is, that we can be for others. And we even heard as a takeaway Sunday that being for others is our work. I wanted to talk a little bit about that today in our video and then follow that up with the questions as always, so that whether you're doing this as a group or as an individual, you could spend some time really digging into maybe your own personal experience with that and finding yourself looking for opportunities to be for others. So with that in mind, I want to turn your attention to some words of Jesus. These words were spoken by Jesus in the upper room on that last night of his earthly ministry before he would go to the Garden of Gethsemane, before he would be arrested, and ultimately before he would be crucified. And as he's gathered there, he's kind of giving these final instructions to those closest friends, the apostles that were gathered there with him, sharing the meal and hearing these words. And in the middle of that conversation, Jesus shares this in the Gospel of John, chapter 13. John 13, and we're going to look at 2 verses, probably familiar verses to a lot of us, but certainly in this context, maybe would come to light in a new way for you today. And this is what Jesus said: "I give you a new command, love one another. Just as I have loved you, you are also to love one another. And by this will they know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." It is one of the most important things that we can begin to consider, that in a relationship with Jesus, things change. Our life change, our priorities change, our convictions change, but also our love changes. And this new command that Jesus gives is that we would love one another. You know, we talked about being for others, and one of the things that is absolutely true for us is that not all others are easy to love. There are people that we encounter in our work, whether that's at a job or in our community or even in our church, that sometimes are difficult to love. So what do we do with that? Well, we have to take this word from Jesus and begin seeing how through him it is possible to love all others, even those who we may not be necessarily drawn to or may have difficulty with. There is still the possibility, there is still the command for us to love. When we think about that, we recognize that as we share Jesus and we live him out in our life, in our work or in our communities or through our church, that we are ultimately sharing the good news of Jesus with others. How has he changed our life? How have we been radically transformed by the love Jesus has for us? And how do we share that? That's not always easy. That's not always convenient, but there is always people who are around us who need to hear that, who are open to listen to the story of Jesus. And so when we love them, we can begin finding those opportunities and looking for those opportunities to share that love of Jesus with them. And even those who are resistant to hearing that word, it doesn't mean that we stop loving them. If we're going to share the word of God, if we're going to share the love of Jesus with people, we need to approach others with this open mind and have this idea that God has gifted us, the fruit of the Spirit, as followers of Jesus, to have influence, to make a difference, to impact the world around us. That is our call to more. We're not just going through the motions. We're not just punching a time clock or collecting a paycheck. We really are living our faith in a way that is not compartmentalized to a Sunday morning experience or to a small group, but it is about living that out every day, everywhere. And that we would look for those opportunities with an open mind, saying, God, when you choose to use me, when you open an opportunity, I am ready and available. It can be difficult sometimes to do that, as I've said, but it isn't impossible. And when we're committed to what Christ has taught us, when we're committed to following and keeping this command to love one another, as Christians, we can do and we want to do whatever we can do to help people come to know Him and have a personal relationship with Him as well. The tendency that we have sometimes is that we're selfish about that. We're selfish about our schedule, our time, even our resources. And this demands that we look at all of those things through a different lens. We look at those things not in a way that only benefits us, but in a way that benefits others. Being for others is what we want to do. And as we think about the goal that is before us, the vision that has been cast before us here at the Orchard, that is essential for all of us as followers of Jesus to embrace and to obey. That we would begin looking at the world around us with His eyes and with the opportunities that He places before us. Being for others then really does become our work. As you think about that, as you look at this text a little bit more and how even as we obey this command, people will begin to see that love in us and know that we are His disciples, that we are His followers, you'll begin to have an impact like never before. And people who are around you will benefit from that. The blessings that come from our obedience. Take some time to look over the questions, spend that time either in your group or in your personal devotional time, and then we'll see you next week here for the last week in our series Called to More and another edition of More with you. Have a great week.